Welcome to the State of the Nation weekly update, the start of 2026. And we're going to start the year off by thanking our partners, Pace Car Rental, who keep us on air. And they are great supporters of this channel. And I would like to encourage you to support Pace Car Rental. Rent a car. I know you probably just finished renting cars, holiday season, but hey, when you do some business travel, go to the website, Pace Car Rental, and use the code SONA, S-O-N-A, and you will get a discount, and you will be so grateful for that. While you're doing that, subscribe to the State of the Nation channel. So that is the admin. I want to talk about something pretty serious this week, and that is that we have seen the capture of Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro by American forces, and a lot of wailing and gnashing of teeth from global leaders saying, this is the end of the global rules-based order. Now, I want to answer the question, where do we stand with the global rules-based order? Is the system broken? Is the system over? Will it come back? Let's have a go. Let's first talk about what happened. Happened on January the 3rd, when a whole lot of American special forces took out Venezuelan defenses, which seemed to be about as good as South African defenses, and captured President Nicolas Maduro and his wife, Celia Flores, put them on a helicopter, flew them back to New York, where they are currently standing trial on drug trafficking charges. And everybody said this is a terrible action. It wasn't ratified by Congress. It wasn't before the United Nations. There was no charade about weapons of mass destruction. This was a unilateral action by Donald Trump, and it threatens the entire global order. Question is it over? And the answer is, we're not sure. But let's see where we are now. Does this signal the end of the old world order, which was established after the Second World War, and for good reason? It was established so that we wouldn't have a Third World War. 81 years later, there has been no Third World War. So the system has held. Has there been problems? Sure. There have been many minor wars, hundreds of them, but no major war. And of course, in the aftermath of the Second World War, no atomic bombs. Hasn't been used. It's got used twice ever, and that was to end the Second World War, and it succeeded. Subsequent to that, you've got a whole lot of countries with atomic weapons, but yet nobody has used it against people or in a conflict situation. So in other words, the global order has held. And I think it's important just to understand that order holds and it stops the big stuff. The little stuff is always going to happen. I want to start off looking at where we are by having a look at Venezuela, especially under the leadership of Nicolas Maduro. Nicolas Maduro took over from Hugo Chavez, who took over as leader of Venezuela in 2000. And the guy immediately introduced a system called Chavismo, and basically it was a blend of socialism, nationalism, and kleptocracy. In essence, when Chavez took over, he nationalized oil. As we all know by now, we're all experts on oil. Venezuela floats on an island of oil, and it was making a lot of money. A lot of big multinationals were invested in Venezuela, and some Venezuelans were getting rich, but some weren't, as is always the case. The oil was being monetized by the big companies, and Chavez said, no, we'll take over. Thank you very much. Kick those companies out. And all the oil belonged to Venezuela. Well, that should have made people rich. Instead, what it did do was it took Venezuela from being the richest country in South America to the poorest country in South America. And then Chavez had the good grace to die of cancer in 2013 and appoint his successor, his bus driver, Nicolas Maduro. And I'm not joking. The guy was literally his bus driver. And he has run the country for the last 13 years. And he has finished off the job that Chavez started. He has managed to impoverish the country completely. In that message, what happened while this was going on, 8 million Venezuelans have left their country. They have gone to all kinds of countries. And as we know from our situation where Zimbabwe was destroyed and made a failed state, those immigrants will go into countries and destabilize those countries. Remember, South Africa sits with a massive unemployment rate. But yet more people come flooding over our border. They're prepared to work for less. It destabilizes the local labor market. And even though, it may be great to get cheap staff, it's not good for the country as a whole, and it's very destabilizing. It disrupts your health systems. It disrupts accommodation. It disrupts schooling. This is what Venezuela did in the region, where lots and lots of Venezuelans flooded into places like the United States, Mexico, Argentina, Brazil, all over the show. 8 million people is a lot of people, right? And so there he went, sowing chaos wherever he went. And soon, what was he doing? It was the old dictator's playbook. Dismantled democratic checks and balances, controlled the judiciary. Anybody here, just tell me when you don't hear some echoes. And he sidelined the legislature. In other words, Parliament becomes a rubber stamp for anything that Maduro wanted. Obviously, one of the big areas to suffer was elections, including an election that was held in 2024, where by all accounts, the opposition probably got about 80% of the vote, but somehow Maduro managed to convince the country he had won. He had put political opponents in jail. He had barred them from taking office. Tens of thousands of dissenters have faced arbitrary detention. Right. On top of it, our good friend corruption. Well, we know, because it's been reported from the other end, that $5.2 billion worth of Venezuelan gold was shipped to Switzerland for the use of Maduro and his inner circle. This isn't to be invested for the country. This was $5.2 billion worth of gold that was stolen from the country and sent to Switzerland. So as the economy struggled and sanctions were imposed and assets were frozen of Maduro and his associates, it created chaos and poverty. South Africa would be so proud of Venezuela because they achieved what our South African government would love, and that was equality. And the only way you can do that is to make everybody equally poor, which happened. There was even the joke about the Maduro diet. The Maduro diet was the involuntary weight loss experienced by a lack of food, where on average it was reported that citizens of Venezuela lost 10 kilos each due to food shortages. Maduro didn't even deny it. He joked. He said that the Maduro diet was good. It's making Venezuelans tough and they don't need Viagra. That's the kind of leader that he was. Of course, America has had their eye on Venezuela. It's quite close to America. It's only 3,000 kilometers from America, which is sort of just twice the journey to Cape Town, so not very far away. And it was always too tempting that perhaps if you're a leader of a South American country, that you get involved in the narco trade. Now, on the narco trade, we've got to say, America there does show. They're always trying to stop the people that supply the drugs, but they never seem to do anything about the demand, which seems to be insatiable in America. And yes, America, under a succession of presidents, especially Donald Trump, loved to clamp down on the supply of drugs, but I think at some point they've got to look at the demand as well. But the smoking gun that Nicolas Maduro and his inner circle were involved in the narco trade was the fact that 2 nephews of Maduro's wife were convicted in the US for transporting cocaine using diplomatic privileges. Yeah, that is a smoking gun. That is when you really know that people are involved in the trade. But the real problem, and here we've heard those words a couple of times, oil, oil, oil. The real trigger for the action was the growing influence of China, Russia, and Iran in accessing Venezuelan oil. You've got all of those countries, all of them a long way away, sending getting a massive amount of oil from a place that's off the coast of the US. And it made America very jittery because some of these countries are now, these are adversaries of America, but yet they are being helped by getting cheap Venezuelan oil. China lent Venezuela over $60 billion in the last 20 years, which of course Venezuela could never repay. They did repay. They repaid in oil. Russia invested billions in providing technical assistance, military cooperation, financial lifelines during the worst times of sanctions, paid in oil. Iran provided fuel shipments, refinery parts, technical know-how, and sanction evading expertise to help Maduro get through these sanctions. So all of these countries who are sworn enemies of America saw the opportunity that, you've got this leader of Venezuela and they could do trade and largely in oil. Right? But there is, without doubt, the biggest problem was that Maduro was emboldened by his mates and he started to taunt Donald Trump.
Venga por mí. Aquí lo espero en Miraflores. No se tarde en llegar, cobarde.
Roll forward. What does Donald Trump do? He sends in his military. He parks a massive aircraft carrier right off the coast of Venezuela. And next thing you know, these guys rock up in a courtroom in New York. Which brings us back to where we started. Is this the end of the global rules-based order? Is it finished, kaput, klaar? Are we over with rules? Does it just the strongest man does whatever the strongest man wants to do? Well, I think it provides an opportunity to reset the global world rules-based order, which I'm a big fan of because, as we said in the start, it's stopped major conflict. It's done more good than harm. The world has never been as prosperous as it is now. So despite what you may hear, and despite the criticism of a global rules-based order, it has worked. Nobody is lobbying. We've had India and Pakistan have how many fights and scraps and border disputes and this, that, and the other. Nobody's nuking each other. And this is thanks to, the pressure cooker of the rules-based order. But the old system has to change. Because what it has created is it's created a problem like this one, that a country like South Africa, let's use South Africa as a great example. We were prepared to mortgage our international reputation built up by the settlement in the 90s, led to the presidency of Nelson Mandela. We were prepared to throw that all away to support Robert Mugabe, rather than the millions of Zimbabweans who wanted him out. We were prepared to congratulate Nicolas Maduro when he stole an election, rather than the people who were suffering under his jackboot. You had a South African government that refused to condemn Russia's invasion of Ukraine, but yet they raced to condemn the US in this particular case. That is a collapse of the global rules-based order. We need a proper rules-based order based on what makes sense. It makes no sense to have Tanzania in the United Nations after we know they've just stolen an election. The woman there made no bones about it. This is like, if you're going to rig an election, don't give yourself 98% of the vote. That is mathematically impossible. You can't, if you're Tanzania and you've just stolen an election, be in the United Nations where you can lecture Switzerland and Singapore about democracy after you've just stolen an election. But under the old rules, you can. Right? The system collapses when the president of the country, in which half of the people are unemployed, can't explain how dollars end up in his couch. But yet that same person can lecture rich countries about poverty and inequality. It can't be. So we need to create a system that allows the system to run on merit, where successful people are talking sense. Otherwise, the United Nations has just become a political version of professional wrestling. You're seeing what looks like wrestling, but in actual fact, we all know it's theater. The question is this threat to the global rules-based system merely a matter of the bad behavior of Donald Trump? I'm saying the answer is it cannot be, because we've seen bad behavior long before Donald Trump came along. The Robert Mugabe thing happened 25 years ago. What has changed in the world, though? Channels like this, social media. You can no longer hide a bad system. You can no longer hide the excesses of a Maduro. We talk endlessly about the shortcomings of our government in South Africa. We know at the flick of a button what's gone wrong in another country. And you can no longer do what you used to be able to do, where a newspaper would write a nice puff piece. Most of the people wouldn't read that newspaper. And you could continually deny the will of your people. So you could rig an election, and then you would go to another country and they'd say, "Welcome, Your Excellency." No, it doesn't work like that in the age of TikTok and YouTube. Right? You can't tell people, you can't tell rich countries what to do. Tell them how bad they are, and then ask them to leave you with more money on the way out. Citizens of failed countries are risking life and limb to get out of these failed states and to get into successful ones. You can't have those failed countries with the vote that counts the same as a successful country. It can't be. We need a rules-based system that makes sense. If you go back to those days when the system was devised at the end of the Second World War, they didn't imagine that people would steal an election and then walk in as if they had won it. They couldn't foresee that you would have this level of bad leadership in countries. Now what's happened is Donald Trump has definitely broken the rules-based system by plucking the leaders of Venezuela. But so did everybody who supported him when he stole the election. So the rules-based system gives the world a chance to reimagine what a rules-based system could look like. How do you not give countries that will not have an election the opportunity to talk and complain about countries that do have elections? We need a system that's based on merit, on some kind of achievement. The idea that you've got 200 countries and everybody's votes are worth the same is ridiculous. You can't have, Mauritius's vote worth the same as China's vote. The one's got a couple of million people, the other one's got a couple of billion people. It makes no sense. Some countries are successful, and those are the ones that should be listened to. We can no longer, in this day and age, hide hypocrisy from the world. Social media will be ruthless in exposing that hypocrisy. And that is what has happened in Venezuela. This guy was a bad leader. Bad things have happened to him. Does it make it right? No. But can you condemn it? It's hard. We can hide behind the system all we like, but those Venezuelans also need their justice, and it was delivered. And if I was a Venezuelan, I'd be very happy that somebody like that is gone. I'm not happy that the rules-based system has been damaged to the extent that it was damaged. But there is an opportunity to rebuild it and to think a little bit more clearly about how you do it. So let's hope the world uses this opportunity to create a better system for the future. Thank you for joining me.